In the ruthless world of mixed martial arts, the octagon should be a sanctuary of skill, honor, and discipline. But that's not always the case. Some fighters, instead of following the rules and showcasing mastery, resort to vile and despicable tactics, seeking victory at any cost. And what's even more shocking, there are women who, behind a facade of beauty or a charming smile, hide a treacherous nature, capable of committing acts that stain the spirit of sportsmanship. Today, we're going to expose the dirtiest female fighters in MMA history, women who threw away all honor in their desperate pursuit of victory, and who inevitably paid a brutal price. Get ready, because these stories are wilder than a celebrity court scandal. Grab your favorite drink and enjoy this jaw-dropping video full of dirty fighters getting exactly what they deserve. Taylor Starling, the arrogant beauty and her humbling lesson. Our first case is Taylor Starling, a fighter known by her nickname Killa B. Her image was that of a sweet, adorable blonde with a smile that could charm anyone. But don't be fooled. Behind that angelic face hid an attitude that sparked disdain, an ego the size of a boxing ring. Starling was a walking parody of arrogance. During the face-off before her fight against Christina Faria, Taylor Starling decided to put on a humiliating circus act. Faria, in response to such insolence, didn't hold back. She promised to decapitate the cocky blonde. The anticipation for this bout was sky high. It promised to be more explosive than a volcanic eruption. Fight night arrived. In what seemed like a gesture of sportsmanship, Starling extended her hand for a handshake, but it was a trap. Instead of a respectful shake, she delivered a mocking slap, only fueling Faria's fury even more. Christina, boiling with rage, remembered every disrespectful move Killa B had pulled during the weigh-ins. She decided it was time for revenge. Faria began dismantling Starling's arrogance with a brutal barrage of precise, punishing strikes. Taylor Starling, the queen of arrogance, soon watched her cockiness dissolve into tears of desperation as she collapsed to the canvas. The arrogant blonde mumbled to her corner that she couldn't continue, begging for mercy, but her own team ignored her pleas. Faria, relentless, attacked again, unleashing a final flurry. Starling, left with no choice, verbally submitted, a humiliating act of surrender. Thus, the haughty girl was forced to learn a lesson in humility she would never forget. Starling's arrogance was drowned in tears and defeat, a brutal punishment for her inflated ego.
Shots, there's the uppercut, power on the inside, and down goes Taylor Starling. That right there shot up.
Camila Zusier, the shameless one, faces her own sporting death. Next, we have Camila Zusier, better known by her nickname Zusier. This fighter is infamous for her total lack of respect toward her opponents, flaunting ostentatious behavior and committing disgraceful acts during her fights. Before her match against the petite Camila W. Bronick, the insolent Zusier mocked her opponent's short stature, convinced that victory would be a breeze. At the start of the fight, Zusier seemed to control the pace. However, in an unexpected twist, W. Bronick dodged a strike and responded with a straight right punch to Smoguleka's nose. Fueled by the desire to avenge the earlier humiliation, W. Bronick's fury erupted. She launched a flawless takedown, dragging the arrogant Zusier to the ground.
Oj, teraz będzie parter. Dobrze broń Zusier, ale jest wykaczona. Świetnie Camila.
Once on the mat, W. Bronick unleashed a storm of hammer fists, punishing Smoguleka with every blow. Relishing the beating, W. Bronick then locked in a chokehold, like a hungry python squeezing its prey, forcing Zusier to tap out in submission. Not forgetting the earlier mockery, W. Bronick celebrated her victory by mimicking her arrogant rival's taunt, giving her a brutal taste of her own medicine. It was a harsh reminder that in the octagon, height doesn't define the size of a warrior's heart.
Będzie Balaszka!
I czy Zusier
Tak, będzie Balaszka!
Czy Zusier odklepie?
Fallon Fox, the man in a woman's body and her controversial path. This is a story that shook the very foundations of the sport. The tale of Boyd Burton, a man who, after undergoing gender reassignment surgery, competed in women's MMA under the name Fallon Fox. Many critics and fans controversially argue that this gender change was a ploy to gain an unfair advantage, exploiting supposed physical superiority over cisgender women. Indeed, Fox possessed a size and physical strength that many considered disproportionate compared to her female opponents. Using this advantage, she crushed several of her rivals with alarming ease. Her next victim in this controversial streak was Ashley Evans Smith. Throughout most of the fight, the man in a woman's body dominated her fragile opponent, using sheer physicality to corner and punish Ashley against the cage. However, during one exchange, Ashley Evans Smith, combining skill and grit, managed to escape Fox's clinch. Seizing the moment, she executed a flawless leg takedown, bringing her opponent to the ground. Once on the mat, Ashley took top position, allowing her to land significant strikes. But it was in the third round that the true story of revenge was written. Ashley Evans Smith finally finished Fox, punishing the Rat for her opportunistic actions. It was a perfect game plan that dismantled Fox's supposed invincibility and restored balance to the scales.
Right hand to the jawline, right hand to the temple as it's over! Into the round!
Daria KOVA, the heavyweight lady, and her absurd defeat. Now we meet Daria KOVA, a fighter who, with crushing irony, considered herself an elite athlete, perhaps because, as some humorously joked, she starts every day with a chocolate bar. The petite Regina Labova dared to challenge KOVA, who was nicknamed Rebel Wilson's big sister due to her considerable size. Before the fight, Regina, with her more slender figure, decided to show off what she called a proper booty, visually taunting KOVA. But the Burger Queen KOVA, taking it as mockery, vowed to turn her into steak in the upcoming match. At the weigh-in, a completely pointless ritual given the obvious weight difference, Slim Regina continued flaunting her figure, while KOVA responded by jabbing her in the stomach, a tasteless and excessive display of power. As the fight began, the slender Regina tried to give KOVA a lesson in weight loss cardio, moving swiftly and gracefully. But in a surreal moment, the chicken wing graveyard KOVA clumsily lunged at Regina, completely missing her target, and in a ridiculous act of pure awkwardness, knocked herself out by falling. Regina won without landing a single meaningful strike as KOVA, the beached whale, continued rolling around on the canvas, defeated by her own lack of technique and overconfidence. It was one of the strangest and most humiliating victories in the sport's history. Jessica Fresh, the betrayal punch and the just revenge. Now, take a look at this rat. Cynthia Calvillo had no idea what shameless injustice awaited her in her fight against Jessica Fresh. At the end of the first round, in an act of pure deceit, Fresh threw a dirty, sneaky punch right after the bell had sounded. But Fresh's villainy didn't stop there. In an utterly disgusting act, during a chaotic moment, she was seen biting Calvillo, a desperate betrayal of the unwritten code of honor in combat sports. Despite the blatant illegality and complete lack of ethics, Fresh was declared the winner, sparking an outcry of outrage. But karma, an unstoppable force, never forgets the wicked. And Lindsay Williams, nicknamed Wonder Woman, volunteered to restore justice in the octagon. In her fight against Wonder Woman, Fresh clung desperately to her wrestling tactics and went for an armbar submission. However, Williams, showing astonishing flexibility, escaped the attempt. Fresh then tried to ground and pound, but she couldn't finish Williams. Deciding it was time to end the farce, Wonder Woman caught the rodent in a rat trap, a suffocating chokehold. Williams avenged all those who had suffered at the hands of the filthy Fresh, punishing the vile scoundrel with the justice of her own fists. It was a cleansing victory, one that restored the true spirit of the sport. Sheila Gaff, the treacherous handshake and the queen of violence in 2012, Brazilian fighter Jennifer Maia faced Sheila Gaff. Little did Maia know she was sharing the cage with one of the most treacherous creatures MMA has ever seen. At the start of the fight, Gaff extended her hand for a friendly handshake, a gesture of sportsmanship. But in the blink of an eye, she unexpectedly attacked her opponent, like a true rat, launching herself with explosive aggression. The rhythm of the fight changed drastically, and Gaff's surprise attack left Maia completely defenseless. Sometime later, Gaff faced another Brazilian fighter, Ariane Lipski, nicknamed the Queen of Violence. Lipski had the perfect opportunity to avenge her fellow countrywoman and throw a full-on Brazilian carnival for the sneaky rodent. In this fight, Gaff skipped the handshake altogether and went straight for an immediate attack using the same dirty tactic. But Lipski acted like a true queen of violence, and with a series of relentless strikes, forced the wretched weasel to drop to her knees. The queen ordered the execution of the hapless Gaff and carried it out with her own fists, unleashing a barrage of simultaneous strikes that sent Gaff crashing to the canvas. Gaff could only beg for mercy, but could not avoid the brutal public beating that followed. Her horrible fate was sealed. She was humiliated in front of everyone.
Well, there's the big right hand through the ground and pound. It's a knockdown!
Paige Vanzant. From sex symbol to brazen rat. Here she is, Paige Vanzant, the adorable fighter considered a true sex symbol of MMA. Following in Columbus's footsteps, she was one of the pioneers who opened the door for female fighters to venture onto platforms like OnlyFans, capitalizing on their looks. But appearances, as we've seen, can be deceiving, and in the world of fighting, the dark side often emerges at the most unexpected moments. Before her fight with Britain Hart, Vanzant suddenly and sneakily grabbed her opponent's neck like a crafty rat, then mockingly taunted her, a move that showed both her veteran experience and shameless arrogance. However, once inside the ring, Hart began to dominate the fight, while Vanzant, surprisingly, failed to land any meaningful strikes. Her grappling-heavy fighting style simply wasn't working. Then came the moment when Vanzant, inside the clinch, slyly landed a punch to the back of Hart's head, revealing her true nature and ripping off the pretty girl mask to expose the rodent underneath. After Hart uncovered her opponent's true colors, the Brit's heavy punches began to disfigure the model's face, a sight that likely hurt Vanzant's OnlyFans numbers. Hart won by decision, brutally punishing the scheming rat and sending her back to the OnlyFans Fighting Championship, forcing her into permanent humility. A harsh but well-deserved lesson.
That's
Blood
exactly
all over
what
the
she needs
face
to
of
keep
Britain
doing.
Hart.
Good comeback.
Sophia Ganova. The dog food incident and the sweet revenge. Finally, we have the story of Sophia Ganova. This fighter, full of arrogance, publicly humiliated the humble Sheila Gaff. Ganova insulted her by calling her an animal and, in an utterly disrespectful act, threw dog food at her. It's disgraceful to waste food, especially when your mother lovingly prepared it for lunch, but Ganova had clearly crossed every line. Then came the long-awaited day of retribution. In the ring, Sheila Gaff, with a dignity that stood in stark contrast to her opponent's vileness, extended her hand for a respectful handshake, but the scoundrel Ganova responded with her usual arrogance, an unbelievable attitude for a fighter with a 0-3 record. The two women started the fight with a flurry of punches, almost as if they were fixing their makeup with fists. Then Sheila, with a direct and powerful strike, smacked Sophia's insolent face with her foot. Next, Sheila decided it was time to reschedule her opponent's nose job, with her fists, of course. With justice served, the humiliated Sophia Ganova cried like a kicked dog, the very same animal she had once insulted. It was sweet, well-earned revenge that restored balance and dignity. We hope this video serves as a harsh reminder of the importance of respecting opponents and upholding ethical principles both in sports and in life. Remember, true champions are not only distinguished by their skill and power, but also by their character and honor. If you enjoyed these stories of redemption and punishment, please give us a like and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching.